Hello, Teepa Snow. Wonderful to meet you and interact and have this wonderful conversation with you today.
Well, it's great to actually sort of be with you. But as you said, we've actually been together one other time when I used to like travel the world in the US and go down to Georgia. Yeah.
I miss the live speaking and interaction, but it slowly, I think it's coming back, hopefully. But the great news is we have virtual and we have other means like this podcast to get the information to people who need it. So we're figuring it out, just like caregiving, right? And dementia care as well. So I kick off the show. I have this really exotic looking, happy, healthy caregiver jar. It's actually something I made for my sister when we were transitioning the care from my mom. And I just felt like I was giving her this huge boulder and I wanted to just have a little gift to give her. So every day we pull something out and it's just things I've collected over time that have inspired me and hopefully they inspire other people. And when I go back and visit her, when she was actively caring for mom, she's still caring for my brother. We refill it with some more stuff. So
Good thing, because when you move from mom to brother, that you need both. Actually,
yes,
you need some more things in that jar. Yeah.
yes. So today says, Teepa, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. It says, real people make mistakes. Happy people accept that.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah. So the way we learn is to try something. I mean, that's really the learning piece, is being willing to try something. And when we try something, the reality is trying to get your brain and your body and your eyes and your mouth to all work together. I mean, that's a work in progress. And if you don't plan on making mistakes, dementia is not a place you should care. I mean, because if you think you're going to get perfect, that is going to be a constant state of disappointment. And for me, it's like, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to try something. It's not going to quite work the way I want it to. But you know what? I got an idea. I got a thought. I'm thinking about how maybe if I tried a little, or maybe instead because learning from what happens is for me the greatest joy in this process of recognizing this is not a done deal. This is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, we're in the car, we're driving, and it's like, oh, a cliff. Well, let's avoid that. But
We
when
know
I
what that
avoided the
outcome
cliff,
is.
I sort of went in the ditch. It was like, well, there was a little overcompensation on the wheel there. Okay, well, let's take a second. Let's, pause, let's breathe, and let's figure out how to get out of the ditch. A lot better than having gone over the cliff.
And that is, we were talking about this a little bit before, but that is self-care because
Yeah.
we don't want emotional self-care is we don't want those feelings of frustration and aggravation and banging our head against the wall. We want to figure out what's going to work and what's going to make us all happier and healthier.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about you, Teepa, is and I've been following you on TikTok. I'm a newbie at TikTok. I started in November, and I'm getting addicted to it. But you can also probably see your stuff on Instagram too. But your videos are so poignant because you don't say this is the wrong way and this is the right way. I noticed that you say option one is this, and you're probably going to get frustration and this and that. And option two, here's something else to try. And I think that it's important for people to see those options. And that's what I love
Yeah.
about
And
your videos.
oh, I think I'm doing more option one. Oh, so what did she say option two? So it gives you a chance. Well, I've tried option two. It's like, okay, well, look at another video. I mean, it doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong. It frequently means, oh yeah, that's what's happening. And it's like, okay, well, let's change a dynamic. Let's
Mhm.
look at something and try something different, because if you're having that experience, and typically people had it more than once, because they'll say, she does that all the time, or this is what happens almost every afternoon. And it's like, okay, well, it's time to quit going over the cliff. I mean, I don't see the value in that. Let's go sit in the ditch for a second, out of the way, and let's sort of see if we can figure out, what was this? Why did we keep going over the ditch? Oh, yeah, that cliff thing. Yeah, maybe we want to look at the road a little bit.
Yeah, and it is a lot of trial and error. And one of the things I think that a lot of people don't know about you is that you've had personal caregiving experience. So I wondered if you would share a little bit about
Yeah.
that, and did that shape your career for you?
Yeah. So the reality is, when I was a kid, my grandfather moved in with what I look back now, it was very clearly vascular dementia. He had black lung disease from working in coal mine during the Depression, and he developed emphysema. He was a smoker. I mean, lots of reasons for his brain not to get a good blood supply. And as he got older, he took on the care of my grandmother, who had rheumatoid arthritis that was so severe, it totally debilitated her. But her brain was still sharp. So she was the brains of the operation, and he was the physical manipulator of everything. But when his brain changes got so significant, we didn't realize it because they were living in an apartment complex in a high rise in Cleveland, and we lived in Pittsburgh, and we'd visit episodically, but we were always really focused on grandma and how she was so frail, and she'd have to tell him things to do, and he would get it wrong sometimes, but it was often things like cooking, like where she would say, "No, Roy, that's not what you do." And so she would be in her wheelchair all crumpled up. And so when he came to live with us after she died, first he came to live with us because they said he's breaking into apartments and trying to fix things. He thinks he's the superintendent, and he's not. He hasn't been that in years. And it's like, uh-oh. So we realized like he was weird during the funeral stuff, but nothing dramatic. But then when he came to live with us, it was, well, listen, I got to get back. Flo's on her own. And it's like, and my mom would try, "Mom's dead, Dad. What part don't you get?" I mean, she'd try reality orientation because that's who she was. She was, phys ed teacher, just sort of, that's what you do. She'd say to me, "You're not very coordinated." It was like, good to know, Mom. I would never bring you on this cheerleading squad. I mean, you're real smart, but you really
very
don't
direct
have physical skills. Yeah. I mean, she would just call what she said, which, I mean, she's a hard, sharp diamond in my world. So I learned, it's like, well, that didn't work, because he would get really angry. And so I, as a kid, figured out, "Grandpap, if you go back home right now, when Mom's at school, I won't have anybody with me in the afternoons." And he'd say, "Well, I'll stay a day, but then I got to get going." It's like, okay. So I learned to use, now people would call that therapeutic lying. And I would say, no, I learned to use my perspective to help him be my grandfather. Because what I did was and I had no idea what I was doing, but at the time I would say how it would impact me if he walked away. And he decided it was worth staying to care for me, but he could only stay a little while. But, that ended up being years. And, but that's my first start. So it wasn't like a gig that I knew I had. I learned to cook too, because he wanted dinner on the table at 5 and my mom didn't get home at 5.
How do you answer the people that talk about, the therapeutic lying or fibbing? Like, what's your answer to that? Because it is what it is. We're all just trying to figure it out.
We're all trying to figure it out. So the problem with lying that I see is that people can catch you in your lie. Like if you don't know enough about the story, you could say something they know is blatantly not true. And we think they're going to forget everything. Well, no, they forget some details, but you never know what they're going to hold on to. And you never know when their brain is going to be sharp. And they get tired of just being put off. That's the other thing. So I'm usually more curious about, wonder what's driving their need to go back to grandma, get back to his wife. And I believed it was, he needed value and purpose in being alive. Now, I didn't know that's what I figured out, but him taking care of me and being with me, how is that similar to him being with my grandma? Very similar. Am I actually lying? No. If he left, I've been a latchkey kid, because she would work. She was a school teacher and she was a single parent at that point. So I would have been at home alone as an elementary school kid from whenever I got home from school, usually about 3:30, until 6 or 6:30 when she got home. And that's when she would fix dinner. And that's because she led the cheerleading squad. She was volleyball coach. I mean, there were lots of things she was doing to bring in extra income, but I would have been alone. Now, is that a lie then? That
No.
And so I try not to do a lot of lying. And instead I get real curious about, what's the message under the message? Why are people saying or asking what they're asking? Because there's usually some need that I've missed, that it may be physical, it may be emotional, it may be spiritual even, or social.
Yep.
And until I figure that out, it's not going to stop. I don't care what kind of whatever you do. So Dad's at work. Oh, well, is he cheating on me with the secretary? And it's like, uh-oh. No, Mom, he's at work. Well, he cheats. And it's like, where is this coming from? Lewy body disease.
I don't know. I don't know what we're all going to say when, shouldn't that comes. I mean, I always wondered, like with my mom and her adventures, I called them, the things that would come out of her mouth. And I'm like, oh boy, what am I going to say when I'm, when I'm up there in age?
I've got a program I've got to get to. Open that door. Uh-oh.
Exactly. Well, illuminate us with your wisdom here, and what is like the common mistake that you just see family caregivers make over and over and over again?
Some of the most common is our difficulty with holding on to the dementia. Mm-hmm. So we say things like, now remember, and then your brain catches up with your mouth. They're automatic things because you just went over something. They said, oh, okay. And then they go, now, when is my appointment? It's like, your brain just gets a stutter step and you're talking before you're thinking. Mom, don't you remember? And those statements are such common statements. And yet, as soon as we utter them, it's like, then we get mad at ourselves. And it's like, well, that's not helpful. So until I train my brain another thing to say, not having a synaptic pathway to follow will mean your brain will follow the synaptic pathway it already has.
Whether you want it or not.
It's a habit. Yeah. And it's a pathway that's already going to go somewhere. And as soon as you follow the pathway, you realize, man, the cliff, no, but your front wheels are off. So instead, you say, when is my appointment? Go ahead and say that to me, Elizabeth.
When is my appointment, Teepa?
Oh, you're wanting to know when the appointment is. Now that's the one with the doctor or something else?
My hair, it's just been looking crazy.
Your hair. Mm-hmm. Wow. See, I was still thinking it was looking good. You know what? It's tomorrow at 2. Oh, hey, Elizabeth, can you do me a big favor?
Sure.
Okay. Now what I did is a series of redirect. So when you said, when is my appointment? I reflected back. Oh, you're wanting to know when your appointment is. I have to have something that's going to automatically come out of my mouth. If I do not, I will go, Elizabeth, we just talked about this. I told you 2:00 tomorrow. And then I know I'm going to get frustrated. So instead, you're wanting to know what time your appointment is. Now, I bought myself a little time because I'm like, which appointment is she talking about? Is it still the same one or is this another appointment? Because we have a couple appointments coming up. Don't want to assume.
Oh, never a dull moment with appointments.
Never. And it's like, now you're talking about the doctor's appointment or something else. And I don't know. I mean, it could have been we were talking about the hair appointment, but I pause myself and don't drive ahead until I know which appointment she's thinking of. Because she may or may not have remembered the conversation we just had. Obviously, she didn't. So I don't even know if she remembers the topic we were on. So I'm giving myself space to think before I act. And yet I'm giving my mouth things to say because these are all formulas that I've sort of
with another question,
which will engage her. And then when I give her the data, your hair appointment tomorrow at 2. Notice I added a visual at 2. Tomorrow at 2, period. Hey, Elizabeth. Now this is called an interjection. And an interjection is the way I have a new synapse that's going to get your brain to go with me. I have a favor to ask of you.
And then I, of course, want to help because I'm a helpful person.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so knowing what the person is like. So now I've taken us to this other place, both of us. And I'm not just sitting in the ditch being frustrated with how I overcorrected and now I'm in the ditch and what am I going to, we're just moving forward. Now I do have to have a favor in mind, but maybe I make a laundry list and put it up for myself.
Yeah.
Because I need to see a visual just like Mom did, 2:00. Yeah.
Yeah, because conversation is this ping ponging back and forth. So you've got to be ready to throw you can't take too much delay in throwing the ping pong.
Yeah. And so all I want people to do is bounce the ball before they throw it back. So the person knows, you're bouncing the ball and now you're going to throw it to me.
Yes.
So,
so good.
Yeah. So instead of, moving ahead, we're just confirming, are we still in the same car, or did you get on the motorcycle?
Sometimes I think the conversations that I get from some of my caregivers that I work with is that it gets super frustrating taking care of somebody who's mean and or violent is a whole different dynamic. And what are your tips there to kind of just keep the peace?
Okay, so here's the first thing. Human beings have 5. I try to categorize them as 5. Now, if somebody comes up with one I've missed totally, let me know. But human beings have 5 core emotions that signal distress, anger, sadness, a combination of feeling lonely or trapped. And it's a emotion about the relationship, abandoned or lonely or trapped and unable to get out of a relationship. Then scared. I'm terrified. I'm scared. I'm anxious. I don't know. I'm ooh. And then finally, purposeless. I have no value. I have no purpose. I don't know my place. I don't know what to do to make a difference. I can't seem to get engaged. I just,
it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
So what you're going to find frequently is, if you look at those 4, and I put them on those 4, I use kinesthetics to help people: sadness, loneliness, or feeling trapped, and then being scared. And then I just don't even know what to do. I am so isolated and I don't feel connected. I don't know what to do. Well, over those, frequently the most common emotion you're going to see first is anger, because anger covers up what I'm really feeling, because anger is directed outward from what I am most frightened by, feeling trapped by, feeling sad about, or feeling purposeless about. So when people get angry, I'm usually thinking, wow, boy, they're hurting. What's going on there? And so are they hurting emotionally, physically, physiologically, socially, historically? I mean, is there a trauma event in the past? Is this a sense of being isolated, or, what's going on here? So I get curious rather than react to the emotion, because my reaction to the emotion is just 2 people then. And it's going to be hard to find my purpose if all I feel like I'm doing is fighting off your anger. And it's hard to really be whole when I feel like the person I'm trying to help neither appreciates me nor wants me. They don't want me. They think I'm trying to do something to harm them or hurt them or trap them or abandon them. And none of those things are true. But if I'm looking for that person to be able to come out of this emotional state and provide the support I need, it's like, I need to look elsewhere. So what's my reaction to them? And can I turn it into a response? Can I find that space where I can recognize, wow, that's the dementia. Whew. That's dementia on top of a person who's really always been very smart, very in control, a person who never had to ask for help, or if they did, they didn't get it. So they had to figure out how to do it on their own.
Yeah.
A person who was always put down as being not as good enough. So, there's something there that's causing this anger thing. And until I figure out where that's coming from and acknowledge it, wow, you are so ticked off at me right now. Wow, boy, did I make you mad. And that's why we have our I'm sorries. I am so sorry, man. I never meant to tick you off that much. I invaded your privacy. I am so sorry. I was trying to help.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I think the important thing that I'm hearing there too is like, there are other strategies you can find. It's not necessarily like, oh, this is throw your hands in the air and say, this is how this person is. I'm just going to have to, this is
suck it up and get hit. Yeah. It's like,
keep doing off the ditch. Yeah. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah. And I will say that the 3 things that I usually look for is changing a person, change out. Maybe you need a different face in front of the individual. change a place. Maybe where you're trying to do this is what's getting in your way, or change how you're going about doing it, because it's something about this combo, more than likely, combined with that human being, is not working well. And so, looking at, all right, well, maybe somebody else could do this better than I can, because there's something about our interaction. And because sometimes people living with dementia do better with professionals doing intimate care than they do with family members. Sometimes not. I mean, there's no magic, but sometimes where I'm trying to deliver the care is part of the problem. The room's too cold, the room's too open, the room's too, you're coming into my private space, you're not supposed to be in my private space. Or maybe we're trying to do too much at once, or the wrong time of day, or, those kind of things. So looking at those elements, can be helpful at exploring the why behind it. And then,
yeah, keep on keeping on. And I think that's the importance of going to like social support groups, because I think you learn strategies from other people, what's working for them, what's not working for them. And I always, learn from Denise Brown, who I don't know, she always says the best day to find support is on your best day, because I think caregivers wait until they're really like off the cliff and hanging and in the dumps, where, it's an interaction of support too. Like you can offer somebody else something and you provide value of your experience. And that is just as important to feel validated.
Yeah. So the tricky part with support is that if you go in, oh my God, it was horrible. And then what happens is people compile on that. And pretty soon we're all spiraling down the toilet. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't really, oh, great. Now we're all in a bad place. Versus, wow, I did something really hard today and it sort of worked. And so I try things like, tell me 2 things that went okay or decently, and tell me one you wish was different.
I like that. It's like a rose and a thorn. If someone said, we start our daughterhood circles I lead one here in the Northwest Atlanta area. And we go around with, what's going well, what's good in your life. Because the other stuff will come out, right? It's, and then I usually ask, well, what did you need? What do you need from the group kind of here? But I think that's the importance of having a facilitator that can kind of step away from it and just be objective and
that ability, that brain space to really be monitoring the group for their wellness and individuals in the group for the need for support. And maybe even, looking at, oh, this person's really more of an introvert. So I wonder if we partner and mentor off to the side, and let them just be in the group, and they don't want to contribute a lot right there because it's not their place. They're very much a private person. It's really hard for them to come out. Their moment to shine will come. It's just not going to be now.
Yes. There. I'm curious, you're such an expert in this area, but where do you go to feed yourself about brain health and dementia?
So I have a lot of different sources. So one that I'm not sure people would know about is the Dementia International Alliance. So it's a group of people living with dementia, some of them living with partners, some of them living alone. And it started with Kate Schwaffer out of Australia. And they're a powerful sort of group, and they're self-advocating. But what I love about the work they do is they encourage us to look at dementia as an ever-changing disability. And if we see it as a disability that changes a lot, then we start seeing, okay, so when do I need to call in sort of people who might be supportive of learning about how you deal with a disability, like not being able to understand spoken word or not being able to produce language, who might be helpful to me so I can learn as a care partner what I could do differently. Like for some people, like learning to use sign language. Because frequently people will get visual cueing. Ooh, do you want to call Mary?
Yes.
And learning to do that. Okay. And I call ahead and say, hey, Mary, Mom wants to talk to you, but her language production is pretty limited. Can you think of 2 songs that you and she used to sing a lot? And can you have them queued up? And I'll cue her that you guys are going to sing.
Nice.
So, looking at how I could do that. Another one is I do go on the National Institute on Aging's site on dementia and see what they're coming up with, because they have clinical studies. ADEAR is a site where clinical studies are, the results of those studies, what's happening there. And then I read everything with 20 grains of salt, because, it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a drug that sponsored this. So yes, you have to kind of, read between the lines there.
And so if they're just using Alzheimer's, it's like, okay, is it really Alzheimer's? They talk about vascular dementia. Have they included people with Lewy body in there? It gets really tricky when you're really concerned that people are getting misinformation, because people stay global when they need to be specific. Kind of things. I'm pretty active keeping up with the Lewy Body Association, the Frontal Temporal Association, what they're finding out, what kind of studies they're, identifying. And a woman that's done a great job at bringing forward experts is Deborah Kahn and her Being Patient broadcast. She does podcasts, beingpatient.com. She has a newslettery kind of thing that she puts out. And it's great because she has lots of experts come in and say what their latest is. And then she's curious.
Yeah.
So she's fun. Yeah.
So much about caregiving is being curious. I'm curious, Teepa, like if you could wave your magic wand and make a big change in our space with caregiving and or dementia, like what is one thing that you'd like to see happen in your lifetime?
A new paradigm of dementia, that dementia is not demented individuals. These are human beings who are having brain changes that are going on, and there are some specific areas that we want to notice when the change is happening, because it's not all about loss. And if we get smarter as care providers, family members who notice, wow, she's getting lost, but she's still going out. Wow, that means she's a risk taker. So a couple of things I want to have in mind. I want to put a GPS on her because I think she's still going to be a risk taker. I don't see any evidence of that changing. And I want to notice when she's wanting to go out a lot. And maybe that's when we build in a trip. And I say, hey, Mom, would you mind coming with me? I wanted to go to the store. And I avoid something that could otherwise be potentially traumatic. And I say, hey, Mom, can you navigate? Now, do you think I should turn here or go straight? Because it's allowing me to sort of also keep an eye on, yeah.
Yeah, just to check in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, I do think there's, acceptance in our culture would be great. And especially because, we're all human beings.
And I wish there was funding so that we really did better by care family members. I don't think we respect them for what they're delivering. I mean, the number of hours and the amount of energy that goes into it, that has to change, because I mean, people sort of, of course, everybody's arguing over the family care plan, bill kind of stuff, but recognizing adult caring is time consuming, and it's very expensive to help somebody who's living with dementia.
Yeah, physically and emotionally, and
it's outrageous. And there is like so little recognition of this. And it's like, come on, guys, let's own it. This is a profession of volunteers.
Yes. I think it just kind of gets swept because it's like, well, this is your family member. This is what you're supposed to be doing. But it's a trickle down effect with people living longer. It's like, if I have to leave my work or I have to reduce my hours to care for my loved ones, then I'm not investing in my 401k, and I'm going to be living longer. And this is just going to be exponentially a bad idea.
And if I'm under a lot of stress because I don't have a lot of skill, because nobody bothered to train me, because I am doing a majority, 70 or more % of all care is delivered by family members.
Yes.
And we are preparing them for this. And, most dementias aren't even discovered till middle of the disease. I mean, come on, this is asking a lot of family members. And frankly, not everybody's meant to be a carer. I mean, my mom was a great example. I mean, she should never have been a carer for my grandmother.
I mean, it's similar to not everyone should be a working
computer
mom
expert.
or
Yeah, I
yes,
shouldn't fix computers. Trust me, I should not. You
yes,
know,
we all have strengths in other areas. And one of the things I hope that changes, it was similar to what you were saying about we don't get the training, is I was, clearly the caregiver for my family members, wheeling them in, taking the notes, asking the questions, and people were very quick to give me, here's how you take care of their wounds, or oh, she's diabetic, you can't be giving her this, that, and here's how you feed her. But nobody was ever like, you're probably losing your mind, Elizabeth, here's some information that would help you cope with this new role that you're trying to,
and
like,
asking you, how is the diabetes going for you and your mom? I mean, it's like
yes,
awful. It's like
it's awful. She has no enjoyment but eating ice cream, and so it's a battle every night to.
oh,
And
Elizabeth, that has got to be incredibly frustrating for you. Let's
yes,
figure out another strategy for you. I mean, instead of this is what you should be doing, Elizabeth, let me dump a bunch of stuff on
let's
you.
should all over you, I call it.
Yeah, that's right. Shoulda,
So
woulda, coulda.
yes, so I think that's something easy, I think, that could change even while we're waiting on the funding and everything. It's like, let's just have
Be
compassion.
different, guys. Be different. Think, look up, look out, look around. Ask that
Yes.
partner, how are they doing? Just be curious enough to. So, Elizabeth, how you doing here, or here with all this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's not good.
Yes, I know. It's well, I want to change gears and talk about self-care, because I have no doubt you're a busy lady. And you've got a lot going on, but you've got to keep showing up for other people. You've got to care for yourself. So how do you infuse, like, what does self-care look like for you, Teepa?
Okay, so I love to I give people, I'm like my mom in that doing things for people is a way of showing love. So I'm one of the
Acts of service. That's my love language.
acts of service. That's my thing. And so I cook meals for family. We have a pot of, I've got 2 daughters, 3 grandkids, my husband, my son-in-law, and a couple of friends. And so I cook for people like several times a week. In the evening, I fix something, or I fix something and send something. So I enjoy gifting the ability I have to put stuff together and make a meal out of something and bring people together, and they can eat and enjoy it and then have company. Because I think coming together over food gives us like lots of sustenance.
Yeah.
And so, that's one. Another one for me is getting out and walking, or I was running until I tore my knee a little bit. So now I'm walking, or biking, but not right now with the ice and snow, but coming up with a routine of a half hour a day, really giving myself that space to be outside. Now, when
I schedule it, or do you just kind of do it on the whim?
I got to schedule it. If I don't schedule it, it fades into the background.
I'm so glad you validated that tip I share with people. So,
I got to have it on the schedule. I've got to value it enough to put it on my schedule, and I've got to sustain it. I mean, it's real easy to sit down in front of that computer, sit down in that chair, get in the kitchen, whatever it is. If you don't get outside, though, some of me is gone, because I need to be part of the world. That's a big world, and that's an open world, and that's nature. I mean,
when you're pouring out, it takes energy, when you're speaking and sharing with people, like it can be exhausting. And so you've got to kind of just like get yourself into so I appreciate I'm a nature girl too. I take a little mid-afternoon walk, and my dogs are good for that. I have something called the 22 for 2022 list.
Ooh.
And it's not about losing weight or anything like that. These are fun things that I want to do in 22.
Oh, cool.
So like, I want to try dim sum. I've never done that. I want to go to Dollywood. Never been. I want to a caregiver retreat, which I'll do that with no barriers. So that's on the schedule. They do caregiver respite retreats. But what's something fun that you want to do, Teepa, in 22?
Well, we are going out to California. We've already planned one of our events. We're going out to California with family, and we're going to Carlsbad Cavern area.
Ooh, so what's that about? Caves?
Well, it's caves. Yeah, it's caves, but it's also the desert. I mean, it's just an opportunity to be in a space that we think will be a relatively safe space,
Mm.
and family, and we're using up points and flights and those partner things that, I mean, I gathered so much of them. It's like, well, let's do something that's sort of fun together instead of just, going on a this or that. So we opted for that. We also, every Saturday, the boys come over. And so one of the things that we try to come up with is something interesting or different to do at least once a month. And usually we're pretty successful because I like new and different. I mean, I do like new.
I like trying new things too. What was something recently y'all tried?
We tried making bath bombs.
Ooh,
from scratch. And
how was it?
They worked. The boys did great. I mean, I wasn't sure how it all play out, but we have bath bombs, and we have little gems that are in the middle of them, and so they like to see what color they end up with when they open up.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, and what a fun experience to do things together like that. If you haven't tried, how old are these boys, by the way?
They are 3 and 5.
Okay, so too young. I was going to suggest pickleball, which I don't know if you've tried that yet.
They are a little young.
They're too young for that.
Well, but they would do it. That doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah. But that's a fun thing. I know my kids are older, but that when the weather warms up. Well, I love that you have this adventure, and I think it's important that people see the fruits of your labor. So I love that you're taking your points. I tried to do that with Happy Healthy Caregiver. Money is show how it's giving back something positive to the family. Whether it's a trip or an outing or a meal or something. That is, I love that idea. Okay, Teepa, are you ready for the lightning round?
I'll do my best.
You're going to be great. I have no doubt. There's no wrong answers here. So,
am I ready? That's probably not the right question.
Yes.
No, probably not, but I'll do my best.
Okay, even when you're overwhelmed, stressed, or upset, you can't help but smile or laugh when you see ...
Dogs, cats, or small kids doing something they probably shouldn't.
Yeah, mischief. I love that. Those cat and dog videos are addictive for sure. If you could take a whole day off, how would you spend it?
It would be divided into categories because I like to have different things. So part would be doing something cooking, I'm sure. Something would be doing a construction project, creating something, some kind of creation thing. One would be going outside and engaging in something outside that has, that uses up some energy and makes me feel powerful and tired when I'm done. And part of it would be selecting who I get to be with.
Yeah.
And when I get to be with them, and doing something that's small but meaningful.
That's so good. I love that. Okay. What's something most people don't know about you?
Well, some people don't know where I got my name.
Yeah. What is that? Where did that come from?
So my mom thought it was clever to have it Teena, Tina, which is a strange way of spelling Tina.
Yep.
Which came out of a book. But when I was a teenager, I worked with children with developmental disabilities. And one little boy had autism and a speech problem. So he couldn't say Tina. He would go, Teepa, tell me toy, Teepa. And he used it a lot. I mean, because it was a program that we were using on a Saturday program, and then an after school program, and then a summer camp program. So for over the course of a year, Teepa became what all my friends started going, Teepa, Michael's name for me. So over time, more and more people called me Teepa instead of Tina. And I never liked Tina that much anyway.
Tina would never work for you, Teepa.
I know, it really isn't my name. And so very funny, So Teepa became what everybody called me. And so I legally changed it to Teepa. So Michael, it's a given name. Michael named me.
I love it. My older brother has a developmental and intellectual disability. So we have a lot in common, actually. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. Went to Penn State. I lived in Brockway. It was a small town.
Sure enough.
Yep.
I had a younger sister with a developmental disability.
You did? Is she?
Yeah. She has passed. She has passed since then. Yeah. She developed a brain tumor at age 3. and went from a very bright, mobile little girl to it was unfortunately very close to her pituitary. So, yeah, she wasn't supposed to survive, and she did
Yes.
for quite some time. Yeah,
Wow,
severe
I'm
developmental.
sorry. Yeah. Well, my brother is 58 and
Oh,
my parents are both deceased. So my sister has
oh,
guardianship, but my older sister, but it takes a village. Do you think that, I'm curious, do you think some of the strategies you share
yeah.
apply?
A lot of them do, because a lot of them I learned by working with kids with developmental disabilities and young adults with developmental disabilities. And that's where I learned that what I had been told to do didn't work. And when I tried some different things, that worked better. I mean, because back in the day, I mean, we were restraining kids like nobody's business, to try to get them to behave.
Yes. Well, and my brother, we lived in a small town. They just did not have the resources for so it's still a struggle. He kind of falls in the I wish there was a TEPA specifically for that group, but I will definitely start trying some things on him to see trying different things, because it's just we bang our heads against the wall.
It
And
is a challenge. I mean, and particularly for people with developmental disabilities, one of the groups that we're just starting to understand is they're at very high risk for developing dementia at slightly younger ages because of all the brain chemistry shifts that they've lived with for a long time.
It's good to know. I'll keep my eye on that.
So
Yeah,
some of the
most of
shifts,
his things are social, like inappropriate Facebook things, and telling me that I've gained weight or
that's FTD stuff with frontal variant, where what
yes,
I say I have no filter.
no filter, which is hilarious. Like he should have his own TikTok channel, and people probably would love it.
Oh yeah.
But there can be
Like,
rough
did
spots.
you say that?
Yes, I know.
Oh.
I know. Last question from the journal for you, Teepa, is what's a
Yeah.
life lesson that you believe needs to be taught in school?
I think what we started with is what I'd go back to is mistakes are one of the best things you can ever make, because that's how you learn. I mean, I truly believe that getting 100% on a paper just means they didn't ask you enough questions, or you must have spent a tremendous amount of time. But really being, realizing that mistakes are just, that's life. I mean, when we make mistakes, it's like, wow, that didn't go like you were hoping. Okay, what do we figure out? And then when you do get it, then the value of getting it is like, I think I figured this out. Cool. Yeah.
I think more than anything, our generations need to hear that now, because I'm so glad I didn't grow up with the social media and stuff, but you just see perfection on your face
And if you make a
constantly.
mistake, you're blacklisted, or you're, like shunned, or all this.
Yes, it's rough. It's a rough
Right.
world to be in. I hope we covered a lot of topics, but is there any other things that you wanted to just share that you want to make sure people know about? And then of course, where do they find out more information about you?
About me. Well, I think we covered a whole lot of stuff. I think one of the things that nobody ever wants to ask that I ask is, tell me what you still like about the person you're caring for, and tell me what you still like about yourself. Because when people are really down, I'll ask them, what do you still like about you and your caregiving role? And what do you still like about the person you're caring for? And when there's a long pause, or all they can say is, well, I love them and I promised, it's like, wow, they need a lot of support to get out of where they are, because they're like right at the cliff, and like maybe 2 fingers hanging on, and nobody has picked up on it. And we're really sometimes so good at hiding how desperate we are to be acknowledged for how hard this is. And I don't know if I have the strength to go on anymore. And it's like, wow, it's really hard to care for somebody you don't like. And it's extra hard when you don't like yourself right then. And really acknowledging, wow, that's really hard. I don't even know how you're getting through a day. Let's get together and figure this out. Because I think we have a lot more caregivers who are near the edge than people realize sometimes, if they don't find a group like yours. And I think finding you could be that thing that helps people start to move away from the cliff. And I think, caregivers get to the cliff a lot. So I think that's the piece that I think is so vital about the service you're providing, that I don't think sometimes some support groups have the skill set, or Facebook pages or those kind of things, that cascade of can really get in the way of, let's go another direction. Let's not go that direction, but let's see where you are, because I want to guide you back over, but I got to know where you are to be helpful to guide, because otherwise it just feels like you're not in the place I'm at. So how could you possibly help me?
So good. Thank you for that, Teepa. That's so good. I'll continue to share those questions and see if I can help people step away from the edge. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through. We can do hard things. We just don't need to do them alone.
No, I mean, that's the scariest part, is I don't actually like him. You know what? He's taken the place of my husband. And it's like, wow. Whoa. So you see the guy in the house now is not your husband. Yeah. Wow. That is really hard. And so acknowledging how hard that is and say, so, you make me wonder. So that just helping people figure out that piece, validating how hard that is. I think that's what you offer. And hopefully the work you're doing is helping people guide back over so they don't get to those really awful places by not knowing before for so long. Well,
there are a lot of avenues. There are avenues. You just have to know that they exist. And so whether it's your positive approach to care, or daughterhood circles, or a certified caregiving consultant, or a church like where we met, a faith community, there are options out there.
There are options.
Know them about
helping people know about them. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm at our website is www.teepasnow.com. I mean, that's the simplest thing, but we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, and they're all basically Teepa Snow, because it's such a weird first name that, it sort of sticks. It
sticks out. Yes. Well, let's continue to just change these, this conversations and start putting the tools and stuff in front of caregivers. And I appreciate you coming on today, Teepa, and sharing your wisdom with everybody here on the Happy
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the work you all are doing, and particularly for being there for people when they get stuck.
So thank you.